What is an open secret in your profession that we regular folk don't know or generally aren't allowed to be told about? The sheer magnitude of criminal cases that detectives have at will pretty much never even get looked at, much less investigated due to a massive lack of staffing. I hear the solve rate closed cases last year for homicides was only approximately 61% US, which sure sounds like a passable grade, but that does mean over 1/3 of murders go unsolved. That's a lot of murderers that might be walking around free out there. Makes you think we probably need more people working these cases. We don't actually know how general anesthesia works at the molecular level. There are theories but nothing concrete. Also, general anesthesia is quite safe contrary to popular belief. Compared to 30 to 40 years ago, preventable intraoperative mortality from anesthesia is so rare, it is now considered almost statistically undetectable. Edit, I can't answer lots of the follow-up questions, because many of them are beyond my scope of knowledge. There's an physician and anesthetist lurking in this thread who can answer some of these questions. If I can, I'll ask my colleagues and mentors for the answers to some of these questions. My textbooks are in my office, and I won't be back at work until we resume elective surgeries. Edit 2. You are more likely to die from surgical complications in the 30 days after your surgery. If the month following major non-cardiac surgery is a disease, it would be the third leading cause of death in the United States. Bartels and others. 2013. Anesthesiology. Dummy thermostats are pretty common. It basically works like a placebo where people feel more comfortable when they think they have control over the room temperature. It results in way fewer complaints. As a hidden temperature limits, the T-stat may allow you to turn it up 75°F on the display, but hidden in the programming its maximum set point is 68. If you see 12 different sellers for an item on Amazon, in all likelihood the total number of sellers is probably 3 to 4, all of whom have multiple names selling the same item at different prices. As a freelance ghostwriter, most of my clients are Russian or Middle Eastern men who publish 5 to 10 ghostwritten romance or erotica books a week under female pen names. They spend $10K a month and double or triple that by flooding the market. At one point one client told me he had 6 of the top 10 Regency romance spots on the paid bestseller list. All hotels have had bed bugs at one point or another. High-end and low-end hotels. What separates the good hotels from the bad ones are how they handle bed bugs once they are discovered. But if you ask the front desk if they have ever had bed bugs, they will typically lie and say no, since most people don't understand how bed bug infestations happen. Very true. I've worked in a couple different hotels over the last 10 years, mostly upscale. Or have had bed bugs one time or another. Also, bed bugs are brought in by guests. Hotels do not just have them. Your luggage will typically pick them up when traveling. This is why you should not put your suitcase on your bed. You can also get them from movie theaters, bus seats, old furniture, etc. I used to work in daycare. I have worked at several. I'm American. The law in Washington state was 14 toddlers to 2 staff, and most daycares try to run at the maximum amount, which provides a terribly stressful environment for children. Even if you enroll your kid in a daycare with less children to teacher ratio, the daycare is usually trying to raise it, and a couple less kids being there is temporary. State regulations can be bizarre and cause even less ratio of care. For example, every child must have their diaper changed every 2 hours or more, all day, and be documented. Multiply that by 14 kids, so changing all 14 diapers/potty training some every 2 hours for 8-10 hour days. The 2 staff rule is really just one person watching the kids for most of the day, while the other person is changing diapers. A good environment being provided is almost impossible when one person is watching 14 toddlers. The state taxes daycares for breaking any small rule, so they struggle to make money and pay people fairly hire more staff. The majority of regular broadcast radio shows are pre-recorded. If a DJ is broadcasting live, usually the morning shows, they still have no control over what music plays. It's all pre-programmed. They'll usually record phone requests and replay them during the voice break before the requested song is scheduled to play anyway, to make it seem like they're playing/taking requests. When the studio is empty, all phone lines are set to busy, so no one calls and realizes there's no one there to answer. Most hospitals are actually crazy trusting about who they release dead bodies to when people die. Oftentimes I show up with just a gurney and someone's name scribbled on a post-it note, and they just let me walk out with somebody's grandma without asking my name or getting ID or anything. I'm a furniture upholsterer, and the amount of times other professionals just recover the old fabric and filling drives me mental. If you're paying for upholstery, ask for progress photos. Nobody needs all that nasty old fabric hidden underneath, and it's not fair to the client as they don't necessarily know any better, nor should they have to. I'm an idiot, don't always know why the fix worked, and we don't care. I work as a hardware contractor for a fairly large insurance company, which means if some owns desk setup has something broken I replace it and every owns happy. We had one desk though that pulled the ship of Theseus on me. I had replaced every part I could, and it could no longer be considered the same setup. It still didn't work, but only for the person who sat there regularly. We told her she wasn't allowed to sit there anymore due to solar flares. Late edit. A lot of people assuming it was user error, and I assure you it was not. The setup was an HP Enterprise docking station with 2 monitors connected to it that users plug their issue's laptop into. The woman's issue was her laptop would only not extend to those 2 displays in this specific space. Ley lines were annexed, guess. Vet worker here. Probably doesn't count as a secret, but we absolutely do pet your cats and dogs a lot when you bring them in. I once overheard my dog's cardiologist telling him she'd carry him to the back like the prince you are, instead of him walking on his leash when she was taking him back for a scan. I loved that vet. The amount of salt and fat in your food, especially at high quality restaurants. We kept a large hotel pan full of clarified butter behind the line, it'd be empty by the end of the night. At the airlines, we generally have no idea where your bag is at any given time. It follows a chain of events to get to the right place. If it ends up missing, no one is looking for your bag. Your file gets loaded in a computer, and when your bag is eventually scanned somewhere, a person is notified to grab it before it moves on to somewhere else. This also means, if you jump to an earlier flight, there is a strong chance that your bag is going to fly on the original flight. The time is usually too little to go find it, retag it and get it to a new flight. If you jump to another airline and we have already retagged it / handed it off to a different airline, it is done. We are not going to be able to retrieve it. It is flying on that flight. Just because your bag tag shows CLT on it does not mean it was accidentally sent there. We often send bags through multiple cities as it will reunite you and your bag hours faster than the next direct flight. Sometimes, we even send it on other airlines that you never even flew on. We may even send it the other way around the globe. X. Bay. You may have flown through London on British Airways, but the fastest way for me to send your bag may be through Seoul, South Korea on Delta and Korean Air. We try our best, but it's a question of volume, staffing, time, and technology. There's a little Asian 19-year-old in that Mickey outfit. Knew a guy that worked at WDW about 7 to 8 years ago. He said Tinkerbell was a short Asian man. Edit. To clarify, he was not walking around greeting folks. Though I haven't seen apparently, at the end of the night, Tinkerbell is loaded into a harness and flies in front of Cinderella's castle. This is the part he did. The other interesting fact was that Disney couldn't get insurance for this, so they paid him $500 cash every night. Said to be the highest paid character. That reinforced glass and that security camera may not actually be unbreakable or being monitored or recorded, respectively. If you can see the monitor showing the camera feed, it doesn't actually mean it's being recorded too. These things can just be there to make people guess whether it actually works or not. Go ahead, roll that dice. People typically just go somewhere where there isn't a camera or glass instead. I worked as a retailer manager in the past. A customer's attitude and approach is about 99% of the reason someone would help them solve a problem. Sale ended yesterday. Your return is past the date. You want a better price on a clearance item. Be a normal kind person and you'll usually get your way. If you start off being shooty or demanding then Sorry, I can't help you. It's store policy. That most of those 3 people have booked this hotel today, or 4 people are looking at this product right now. Pop-ups on travel agency website and e-commerce sites are lies. Totally static and made up. We know all the websites you are visiting and all the rounds of Minesweeper you are playing while you are at your desk, but as long as you aren't doing anything illegal we don't care. If you buy an antique or a vintage piece it most likely went through //5 hands, each one at least doubling the price. That just because something is patented doesn't make it any good. Stupid shit is patented every day. Teacher here. I learned early on in the game that there are a lot of supplies we don't have to pay for if we just know where to look and how to ask nicely. Want to have a lesson about plants? Go to a grocery store/florist a few days ahead and ask if they can set aside their dying flowers for your class. Need cardboard? Ask a store for their old boxes. I've even heard of my colleagues just going to stores and asking for donations and explaining why and getting new stuff for free. It's amazing how much people are willing to go out of their way to help educate kids. Libraries throw away, pulp or otherwise recycle a lot of old books. We get a lot of awful tatty stuff donated. We have old manky books that we need to get rid of to make shelf space for newer stock. And we have standards for anything we sell off at library stock sales. It's just easier to throw things out. Sometimes things go to the workroom for repair or cleaning. Straight in the bin. We do this because if customers knew, they might damage things that they wanted to buy from us. When temperamental artists ask us to adjust the sound and we pretend to twiddle knobs. 25 years as both performer and tech. I have seen both the best and worst of both sides. The best was an internationally renowned jazz artist with an incredibly exacting tech rider. He would not enter the venue until his road manager reviewed every piece. The tech director was totally chill about it and told me he and his fans have certain expectations and our job is to meet them. When sound check started, the artist was incredibly gracious, thoughtful, respectful, and exacting. An absolute delight in every way. And we didn't stop until it was perfect. Some artists are temperamental pricks, and some engineers are condescending douchebags. I have had my fill of both. The true pros work together to create a great experience. Edit. A lot of people are asking, so it was Richard Boner. Great dude. My family owns a peach garden. Peaches are really delicate fruits. They're soft and watery, perfect for any insect to lay eggs. So you need to take good care of them. But sometimes the weather doesn't care about that, and stuff might happen, so now all your peaches have bugs. What do? You can't sell spoiled peaches, but you need money. Sell them to juice companies for 5 cents a kilo. Enjoy your war peach juice. This isn't only for peaches, BTW, any sort of juices like that.
N.
Cinema theaters are full of bugs. No matter how much you clean, bugs will live off the food dropped and are very good at hiding. Even exterminators can't get them all. Plus, with all kids of people coming in, they bring in bugs, fleas, lice etc, and we can't refuse service just because someone absolutely stinks. Think about that next time you sit down. Not unheard of for cinema workers to keep your lost property in Kashuthi fined. Though most staff won't, 1 or 2 defo will. High value lost property gets given to managers to deal with. And yes, this absolutely includes upmarket fancy cinemas. Advertisers can show you ads that are related to what your wife/husband/girlfriend etc. has been looking at online. If you have acknowledged your relationship i.e. marital status on Facebook and are often in the same location, advertisers assume you're talking about getting a bike or planning a trip etc. and will serve you ads even if you haven't been the person looking them up. Edit. I should clarify, it's not down to the specific advertiser or brand that know all this information about you, and it's not associated with you as an individual, i.e. they don't know your name, but rather it's the program that collects data and sells ad space based on that data. I work at a jewelry store that produces custom pieces. Diamonds and other precious stones get dropped and lost by everyone constantly. 3 or 4 times a day you will hear FCK. Nobody move. Get the flashlight. I saw the owner drop a whole tray of sapphires one day. Pretty sure part of his soul died. We're usually more careful with customer stones, though. Usually. Wash your fruits and vegetables. If a box breaks open and produce falls out, we rebox it and ship it. I can fix most people's computer issues by doing 3 things. 1. Run a free scan from Malwarebytes. 2. Open up msconfig, Master of Science from typing it in the start menu, then going over to all the services and startup items, and turning off so much crap that is either a virus says unknown or a blank. For the manufacturer name or unnecessary you can Google if you don't know, plus click the box that says hide Microsoft to dumb it down a bit. 3. Make them a new user account that doesn't have admin rights. They'll need to put in our admin name and password when they really want to install things. No need to always be logged in as an admin. Clickbait will kill your PC. Then doing a few reboots. I teach this to family. Insurance agent here. To all home buyers, make sure you buy some sort of mold coverage. When pipes burst or you have a leaky faucet or some sort of water damage, we'll write it off as non-covered mold. Save yourself an extra hassle and get some limited mold coverage. Heed my warning. Edit. Also, when we stress saying in the event of a covered loss, it really means it's a 50/50 chance of it depending on how claim adjusters see it. Software developer. A lot of large financial systems are held together with duct tape code and have no real documentation or specifications. Also, there's a good chance that a large number of the staff are fresh out of uni and are just muddling along. I did my student placement at a major insurance software company which handled billions in transactions. At one point the entire support team was a single student with no oversight. Former profession. Catholic school principal. Open secret. Private schools lower their costs and increase their test scores by expelling students with special needs or low grades. Anyone with a disability costs extra because you have to spend more on support services, and private schools like to brag about being academically better than public ones. Instead of helping vulnerable kids, many such schools abandon them for better optics and more money. Current profession. Tabletop RPG designer. Open secret. The pay is crap. You cannot make a living this way unless you are extremely lucky. I have a day job and very understanding wife. What's worse is how some game companies purposefully target folks wanting to break into game design by offering them work at super low rates. $0. 03/word is common but still low, but I've seen a Shats offering $0. 005/word yes, half a cent, or the scam where there's no pay because you'll receive exposure. For some reason medical device prices are inflated beyond the stratosphere against what it costs to make them. I understand there are more regulating organizations that are applicable for medical devices and not other products, automotive, electrical, petrochemical, but what the fuck? An item that costs us $700 to make is sold to our dealers in $3K. Then they sell those to hospitals in $7K. Then the hospital sells them the client/patient in $10K. Insurance rep here. Your credit score matters more than people realize. It can affect your auto insurance premium by as much as $100 a month. And if you're a renter, I can pretty much ballpark your credit score by running a renter's insurance quote for you. The higher the monthly premium for your renter's insurance, the shootier your credit score. Nurse manager here. We nurses aren't saints. Generally, most of us are caring, hardworking people. But we have the same people problems as the general population: opioid addiction, affairs with married men, DUIs, time card fraud. The list goes on. It is not difficult to get super realistic details in CGI. I see people look at stuff like the stitching on shirts and how there's some fuzz on a peach or something like that in animated films. It looks impressive, but those details are super easy to make. Just slap on a normal map and a particle system. Of course, some details like cobwebs are more complicated, but overall the tiny little things are just a texture or particle system. The actual hard stuff goes completely unrecognized if it's done well. Compliment the character rigging every now and then. It's much more difficult. This isn't a secret, but everything is photoshopped. I'm constantly pointing out to people a bad Photoshop job in an ad, and people will say, "What are you talking about? Looks real to me. Trust me." Everything is photoshopped, put through a filter, shrunken, stretched, brightened, just to make you want to buy it. Automotive technician here, and maybe I've been extremely fortunate, but the shop is usually not out to screw you. A lot of the upsells people scream about are the fact that I have to take these parts off to get to the part 1 have to fix/replace. The parts that came off have 100,000 miles on them. Let me save you labor and replace them now instead of 6 months to a year later. The other upsells that cause people to cry foul are usually maintenance recommended by the manufacturer at that interval. And in my personal experience, when someone is getting screwed at a shop, it's because of a service writer or service manager trying sell unneeded work, not the mechanic. Worked as a McDonald's manager, and pretty much the entire store had the understanding of telling the customer that the ice cream machine was broke, when the reality is that usually the machine goes into a heat curing cycle for the ice cream mix. It's easier to say it's broken than to explain this. And during the summer days, when everyone ordering sundaes or cones, the machine goes into a lock mode until it can freeze the ice cream again. Or else you just getting lukewarm liquid ice cream mix. Military grade literally translates into the lowest bidder. A lot of military personnel, especially the Marines, use stuff from the Vietnam War, hand-me-downs from the army, etc. The government spends as little as possible on outfitting its troops in 99% of cases.